Welcome to this instruction video about the document library used in FolderViewer. Select Document Library, select Open Document Library and select Test Library to open the test library. There are no records yet in the library, but the tree has already some nodes. Each node in the tree represents a query. The name of the node will be used to select files containing, in this case, the phrase FolderViewer in the tag. When we click on the node Programmers and John Mayer, then we select only files with the tag Programmers and John Mayer. But since there are no files yet, there's nothing to see in the list, but this is just to explain why we use the nodes and how the queries will look underneath. Okay, let's zoom in source from files. We click on it, we go and you see that the selection will be based on this query. Select all the fields from the test library where the tags contain the phrase FolderViewer and the phrase source from files. Select another one. Here will we select where the tags contain the phrase FolderViewer and the phrase source Pascal files. Okay. Why is this necessary? Well, your hard disk is a very rigid structure and you can only organize your files using folders. But when you have an overview in a database and use queries to select the files, you can have an unlimited way to select the files. Well, maybe we're going to explain something by adding the files to the library. We go to the project files, open FolderViewer, and we select only the file type Pascal. We select them, Ctrl A, we select the node source Pascal files. Next, we're going to import the files into the library. We select Add Documents using the tree node, and you will see that now the files Pascal source file are in the library, and each file has automatically given the tags FolderViewer and source Pascal files. FolderViewer and source Pascal files. Exactly what the tree node says. Next we select the source form files. We deselect the Pascal files, select the form files, select them by Ctrl A and import them using the tree node. And now you'll see that only the form files are listed. And once we click on the other node, the other query is executed and will list only the Pascal files. When we click on all documents, of course, all the 61 files will be listed. When we click on FolderViewer, also all the files will be listed because each file contains the word FolderViewer. But once we click on the source from form files, only the form files will be listed because the form files has the tags FolderViewer and source from files. Whilst when we click on source Pascal files, we list only the files having the tags FolderViewer and source Pascal files. Okay, well, we're gonna add some more. Suppose we know that some files are written by a certain program, in this case the programmer John Mayer. We know that certain files in the database, in the source Pascal files, are written by John Mayer. In the files, now we can tag these files using this tagging tool. It is used to tag and set certain properties of the files. For instance, we will add the author John Mayer to the files. Because Pascal are just plain text files, they don't contain properties themselves. But since they are in the database, the pointer to the files, as a matter of fact, not the files themselves of course, but the record contain pointers to the files on your hard drive. Well, we will add the property John Mayer and we'll set that the property in this batch job has to be set always. So we checkmark the R which stands for replace always. You tag the files, and now you will see that the files selected have got the property set to John Mayer. This file of course not, but the files we had selected are all tagged with the author name. Well, we have already set the query John Mayer by setting a filter, and the filter looks like this. When we zoom into the query, you can select the property author. You can set of course many others, but in this case we have set it to author. We selected the operator, like in this case, and we entered the name of the author. Clicking on the node will execute this query. Select all the fields from the test library where author is like John Mayer. Okay, select all files, and when we click on Pascal files, we see all the Pascal files. When you click on John Mayer, you see only the files with author John Mayer. Okay, we can do some more. For instance, we can execute queries like this one. We selected and added a node called functions, and under the node you can have as many as you want. Certain functions you like to search for. Just enter in the nodes field the functions you want to search for, and then you set in the filter, you select nodes as a property, the like operator, and now we're going to use the percentage because nodes is a text field containing many different phrases. You only want to select nodes where there's a certain phrase called document database handler. Well, the possibilities of course are limitless. You can use all the properties in the record of the database, and you can select the documents based on these SQL statements. In the most simplest form, the queries are just executed by clicking on the node, which will generate automatically the SQL query. But of course, when you have knowledge of SQL, you can extend it, save the query to the node, and then you will overall have your own query be executed once you click on the node. You can also update. If you have very advanced knowledge of, you can update the records in the database themselves, so you can alter the properties with update queries, and these are for the more advanced users. Next, we're going to add some special files. We have already selected them in the right panel. They concern the FolderViewer project files, some image files, some configuration files, and we have added a node called project, and we want to use not add documents using the tree node, but add document using a template. We open it, and we have already arranged a template, and we have already entered the author name Dan Danik. We use as a category the folder the files exist. We use the subject as a subject the word project. It's the company Matisoft. The manager is Lisbeth de Vries. We add some comments to the record, and next we're gonna import them, and immediately you see all the files listed. Five added, 66 now in total, and select on the project. We see only the files, and the files have all the properties we set, like the subject, project, the company Matisoft, manager Lisbeth de Vries, and the category FolderViewer. We have created a new library. We have selected the files in the test library, and as you see, they are all MS Word files. MS Word files have properties of their own, and we'll use these properties in the import. And we'll use the add documents using a template. We have already arranged a template called article about addiction. We will use the title and the author and the subject and the company manager and comments of the properties of the MS Word files. We add our own, we call them article, to the category field and keywords to the addiction field only when the property of the file is empty, and we will import them not using any tags. We import them. You will see they are all listed. We have not any roots to select them, just the root node will select it, and the root node of course selects all the file. Well, we have, for instance, different categories. As you can see, well, all the files are listed. You click on the filter. They have the category handout and psychoeducation, and let's use those categories to select the files. We add selection, we call it category, save it, insert the phrase handout, save, we add another one, let's call that one psychoeducation, and select all the files once more. Yeah, we call them handout and psychoeducation. Now we'll add the filter. We set the filter to category. We set the filter to handout. Run the query to check it, and you see now only the files with the handout as a category are listed, and the other one is called psychoeducation. We will correct them for the spelling, and we'll add a new one called category is like psychoeducation. Run and save, and now you see only the files are listed having the category set to psychoeducation. Click on handout and click on psychoeducation and click on all documents, and it will list all the documents. Category of course will list nothing because there are no selection criteria assigned to category, only to the handout and psychoeducation. Well, we can do something with the authors. For instance, we add a category, we call them author. We add the author name John Bailey's. Save. Next we're gonna add and set the filter. Author is like John Bailey's. Run the query, and now you see, if you scroll to author, only the articles written by John Bailey